and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors.
Amp2.tv presents Tell Us Your Business, where you're invited on the air to tell us what makes your business stand out in the community. It's important we hear from you to tell us all we need to know about what you do best. Tell Us Your Business uses the latest radio and television production systems, and all shows can be seen on amp2.tv. If you have a question for our guest, call 888-565-1470. Now, let's get ready as our guest hits the airwaves and informs us about what we need to know on Tell Us Your Business.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to my new show. This is my second show, and I'm so excited because my dream has been to help seniors. I work with seniors in the community and all over the world, basically, because I teach Zoom exercise classes. I'm also a hairdresser in Boca. And so I really have just this desire in my heart that for seniors that there are so many needs, and I've been given the opportunity, this platform, to present issues that are going to help the senior community. So I'm going to take opportunity to invite professional people and touch on some different subjects that I think are very important. I was raised by my grandmother, and I lived with seniors all my life, and my grandfather until they were in their 90s. And I have aunts that are in their 90s right now, and so I deal with them every day with issues. I talk to my seniors in the classes. So there's so many things that I want to bring out. I feel like there's a lot of talk shows out there that really deal with just maybe gossip or just not really focused on our senior community. I think that need is so prevalent because with COVID now, they're alone. Some of them have lost their loved one. They don't know how to work the computer. They don't know how to do the phone. They're stuck in the house, especially if they're up north, and now the snowstorm. So there's so many different issues. Scams, that's a big one. Using their computers. Family issues. I mean, I can go on and on and on. So my dream is each time I have a show, and my show is going to be every other Monday, and so my next show will be Valentine's Day. So I want to take an issue and focus on that and have a professional come in and talk about it. So I want to invite you, whether you're a senior or not, it doesn't matter, but I want you to be willing to come in. Tell me what you do, and if you want to come in as a guest, if you think you could help the senior community or you have a business that you'd like to sponsor and put a commercial on, I would love to have you contact me. You could reach me at touchbyanangellive@gmail.com, or my phone number is 954-224-0886. You could also call into the show while we're here talking. You could call, the number is 565-1470. So you could call in and have questions if you'd like. So I'm so excited because the person that connected me with this opportunity was a woman that was in my class. She's been in there since, almost 10 years. And we never really, I never really knew what she did until just recently. We really connected, and she told me to contact the studio, and I came in, and the first day that I came in, and you could watch it on the 13th of January, was my interview, and Freddie and Dawn offered me a show, which I think I'm still in shock. But I wanted to have her come on because she has a lot to offer, and I'm going to introduce her, and I'm going to let her tell you exactly what she does, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about the topic that we're going to talk about tonight, and it'll be on panic attacks and anxiety. And so I think that's a very important issue, not just for seniors, for everybody, but really for seniors, that's my passion. So I'll hand it over to Goldie.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Angel, for having me as a guest on your show. It's just such a privilege to be here. And
Thank you.
yes, well, to introduce myself, my real name is Jane Goldie Wynn, but all my friends call me Goldie, so you can too, audience. But I am a master's level social worker, and I am a certified life coach. And I also am an author. I get a little plug here. Let's see. Here we
She's
go.
got
There
a
we go.
book.
Yes. Rainbow in the Night. This is actually a book that I published in December of 2019, just before COVID. And it happens to be my life story where I just hold nothing back. I just share everything that I experience in my life. And the goal of the book is to just let people know that they can be free from their painful past and bring encouragement and hope to other people. And that's really why I wrote the book, because I just really feel there are so many people out there that are hurting and they're stuck. They need to get unstuck. And then as a result of the book, I have a recent opportunity in which my book is being now made into a movie. And that is
Yes.
just very, very exciting. And we're working on the trailer now. And so once the trailer gets out, then we'll start full production. But it's very, very excited because it's just a dream to be able to bring this to people out there who are really feeling a lot of uncertainty and anxiety and even panic in some cases as a result of what's happening in the world today. So I'm excited about that. And you can stay tuned for more information. But just, do you want me to go ahead and start talking about our topic?
Yeah,
or do you
I
wanna
just
say
would like to say one thing that,
Okay.
through our pain, we're able to help somebody else. And
Yes.
at the time when we're going through it, we think to ourselves, I'm never going to get through this. How could I get through it?
Right.
All of us have a story, some of them more than others, but we all have something to give and to share. And I feel like this is not about me or you, it's about what you can do for somebody else.
Yes.
So, again, I want to thank Freddie and Dawn for giving me this opportunity. I know we're going to help a lot of people out there.
Yes.
Don't be ashamed to call, please. If you
Yes.
have a need, let us know. If you don't want to call during the show, you could call after. So Goldie's going to talk about panic attacks and anxiety.
Okay, well, first of all, I just want to give you a quote here I thought was interesting. President Roosevelt, in his inaugural address in 1933, stated, "There's nothing to fear but fear itself." And that's been a quote that stood the test of time. But first of all, I thought what I should do is talk to you a little bit about the symptoms first of anxiety and panic disorders so that you know what we're talking about. And what I'm going to do is bring forth the symptoms from the DSM-5, which is a psychiatric manual that medical professionals use when diagnosing mental disorders. So for anxiety disorder, you have to have at least 3 or more of the following 6 symptoms, with at least one of the symptoms present for more days than not for the past 6 months. And then if that were the case, then you could be diagnosed with anxiety disorder. So the symptoms for anxiety disorder are restlessness or feeling keyed up or on edge, easily fatigued, difficulty concentrating, and sometimes your mind just goes blank, irritability, muscle tension, or sleep disturbance, which could be difficulty falling or staying asleep, or restless and unsatisfying sleep. And the symptoms of panic disorder, sometimes people with panic disorder end up in the emergency room with chest pain, and they almost feel like they're having a heart attack or they're dying. I've known many people that I know that were that ended up in the emergency room thinking they were having a heart attack, and indeed it turned out to be a panic attack. So it's a sudden onset of fear or discomfort and typically reaches a peak in about 10 minutes. And the criteria, again, from the DSM-5 for panic disorder include the experiencing of recurrent panic attacks with 1 or more attacks followed by at least 1 month of fear of another panic attack. That's a huge issue because people who have the disorder are always afraid that they're going to have another panic attack. So a panic attack is an abrupt period of intense fear or discomfort accompanied by 4 or more of the following symptoms: palpitations, pounding heart or accelerated heart rate, sweating, trembling or shaking, shortness of breath or feeling of being smothered, feelings of choking, chest pain or discomfort, feeling dizzy, unsteady, lighthearted, or faint, chills or heat sensations, numbness or tingling sensations, feeling of being detached from oneself, or fear of losing control or going crazy, or of course, fear of dying. So if you have symptoms for either anxiety or panic disorder, it's very important that you speak with your primary physician to get a referral for professional help, because either disorder can be treated with therapy and medication as prescribed by the physician, and it can be serious. So it really is important that you get the help that you need for this and don't isolate, because it's scary, but there's so many people that suffer from it, and you're not alone. It's important to remember that. But one of the interesting things that Angel and I were talking about when we were discussing this topic is the root of anxiety is fear. And it's interesting to note that fear is mentioned 365 times in Scripture. So that's a lot of times that we're talking about fear here. So I'm going to just give you an example of somebody that I knew who really had a terrible fear of flying. And not only that, there was just a lot going along with that. He had just been diagnosed with panic disorder, and in the beginning, he couldn't even go out of the home, couldn't go to a restaurant, couldn't go to the mall, couldn't go anywhere where there were people, where there were lights. But he was determined that he did not want to have this fear of flying forever and ever. So he decided to actually go and get tested, and he ended up with a psychological evaluation, and he did have panic disorder, and he started to work with a cognitive therapist. And what a cognitive therapist does is help you through desensitization to move through whatever the fear process is, and to take it slowly and step by step. So he did that with that goal, again, of being able to get on a plane one day. So the therapist had him take very small steps. Like the first thing was just to drive to the airport and then drive home again. And the second step was to go to the airport, park, and then drive home again. The third step was to go to the airport, park, and go into the airport and sit at the gate and then come back home again. And so he did that for a series of times until he could do it without feeling that anxiety and panic. And then the last stage was actually asking a friend of his if he could go up in his private plane. Because one of the problems that people who suffer from anxiety and panic disorder is that they fear the loss of control. So if he could see what it was like to be in a plane and be in the cockpit and know exactly what happens, then he could feel the freedom one day to fly again. And that's exactly what happened. So he went up with his friend, the pilot, and he explained everything to him. And he saw him working all the controls, and it was just like, wow, I feel safe. I really feel safe. So he was able to get past that and eventually got back on a plane again. But that took about 6 months. It was a lot of work. He had a whole lot of support to get through that. And I think we just have to remember that it's a process, not an event, that it doesn't happen overnight. So what are some coping strategies that can help? Well, I think one of the most important is to stay focused in today, one day at a time. That's why people who are in AA or Alcoholics Anonymous are able to stay sober, because if they were told that they could never drink for the rest of their lives, they would go out and get drunk that very same day. But if they're told just for these 24 hours, you can do it, they can get through that 24 hours, then they can build their sobriety. And that's all we really have is today. We don't know what tomorrow will bring. I believe only God knows the future. So the next thing to think about is taking each thought captive, because if you can take that very first thought captive, and don't let it run away so that it spirals into anxiety, and as soon as you start to feel that anxious thought, if you pray. Just give it to God. Let it go. Breathe slowly and insert a positive thought like, you know what? I can do this. I've done this before. I got this. I will get through this. So you can substitute positive thoughts instead of taking on that anxiety thought. And a technique that I used in my private practice when I was a therapist up north, and now I also use as a life coach, is one that clients really actually like. And it's something called the what if box. if you're having problems with anxiety or panic, you're always what-ifing. What if this happens? What if that doesn't happen? And on it goes till you're what-ifing all the time. And it doesn't serve any purpose but just to make you more anxious. So the technique that I used is I would ask my clients to come up with a what-if box. And in that box, they would sit down and write out all their what-if scenarios. What if this happened? What if that didn't happen? Blah, blah, blah. And whatever they are, they would just make them into small pieces and put them in the what-if box. And they could only go into that box one day a week for 30 minutes at a time. And then they could take out all their what-ifs and read them and then put them back in the box again. And again, the assignment was they could only go one day at a time for 30 minutes, once a week. And so eventually what happened was the clients were so tired of having to go into the what-if box that they finally said, I don't need this anymore. So it sounds kind of like a silly thing, but it really, really, really works. And it really helps people to compartmentalize.
There's a lot of different levels of fear.
Yes.
Not everybody even knows that they're afraid. There's people that have panic attacks and they don't even know they're having a panic attack. So I do believe that fear is the root cause.
Yes.
And being myself, going through being a widow, not knowing how I was going to pay my bills, having cancer and surviving, loss of my husband, a lot of different things. I didn't want to fly. I mean, I never had a panic attack, never. I was never really the type of person to fear. I was always very strong. But in a lot of these different areas, I realized that there was a fear. And, fear brings torment. If you play with that thought and let it control you, it will torment you. So the key is, and you have it in you, everybody has it in them, to take that thought and, like she said, take it captive and hold it and think about it. Know that there is help for you. You can get help.
Yes.
You could be free of that, whatever it may be. It may be something very simple. Maybe you don't want to drive on the freeway. Maybe you're afraid to go to the store. Whatever it is, you're afraid of dogs or I don't care what your problem is. There's an answer for it. And we know how to direct you for the help. Sometimes it's just meditation. Maybe you need to learn how to breathe. Maybe you need to learn how to relax. But you have to know that, yes, there's all these problems, fear of dying, fear of being alone, especially seniors, because we're coming closer to the end of our life.
Yes.
So we think about these things. When you're young and strong and healthy, you're out partying, having a good time. You don't think about dying. As you get older, you start to think about these things.
That's so true.
So you want to really know that there is help for that.
Yes. That's so very true. And I think, I was thinking today about seniors because like you, Angel, I have a heart also for seniors, and my husband and I go into, senior homes, assisted living, memory care, independent living, and bring music to them because music is such a happy thing and everybody can identify with music, and music is the last memory to go. So when we go in and we just see their faces and the smiles on their faces, it just means so much to know that for 1 hour we can bring them some joy, because I think one of the dangers that seniors face is just isolation. And they just feel alone. And the thing that broke our hearts was during the pandemic when seniors had to be alone in their rooms. I mean, the food was dropped off outside their rooms, and they couldn't even get out. And it was just devastating for them, and the families couldn't visit, and it was just a horrible time. And I know we felt so sad. And I remember the first time we were invited back into one of our homes after the pandemic, everybody cheered, everybody cried. We couldn't hug because of COVID, but everybody was so happy. And I think that that's one of the things that, we really have to acknowledge with the senior community. So when anxiety and panic, and those kinds of things happen, and the flip side of anxiety is depression, we just have to always keep an eye on that because and look out for our neighbors. And
Yes.
I know the other day I was walking through the parking lot, and I just felt to visit a neighbor, and she just burst into tears, and I didn't even know that her sister had recently died unexpectedly, and she's just sobbing and sobbing and sobbing, and she just lost her mother. And it's just, you just don't know what other people are going through. You, like they say, you can't judge a book by its cover, and that's true. So I think it's important to just be someone who can be an encourager and make sure. I know in my social work training, it's all about networking and all about helping people to get connected to the resources that they need to get them better. So, so Angel, I just want to say, I didn't say this in the beginning, but Angel was really an angel in my life, because I remember when we first moved here in 2011, it was a hard transition. It was really a hard transition. We left Pennsylvania, Philadelphia area, where we had lived for 28 years, I think. And that was like our home, the longest place we'd ever lived. And it was just hard. And I'd gained weight, and I just felt like, ugh. And then I just thought, I have to look for something. And I started seeing something about Zumba. So I got online and I found out that there was this doctor's office really close to me, and there was going to be Zumba classes. So I went, and I went in the first day, and I saw
Zumba Gold for seniors.
Yes, Zumba Gold for seniors. Yes, I am a senior. And I remember thinking, I can't do this. Oh boy! But you know, Angel just made it so easy. And the thing I love about Angel is she's such an encourager. Like I have been taking her classes ever since. So when we transitioned to Zoom, I hardly ever miss a class. Everybody knows, even my work, I build everything around that Zumba class, because it's one of my lifelines and one of my life-giving activities, which is really important, by the way, to have in your life, are things that are life-giving for you, because there's enough life-taking out there that we just have to find things that build us up.
And you actually started taking the first class, which you never took. You only did the Zumba Gold.
Exactly,
But you just
yes.
started taking the strength and balance,
yes.
which is very slow and breathing. And could you just give them a quick testimony of what happened after a few weeks?
Well, it's interesting because when Angel taught the breathing technique, I started using that, and I was having some problems because, you know, we've all had a little bit of this COVID variant thing, and part of the thing that happened for me is my voice was affected, and I'm a singer. So I started doing her breathing exercise, and when I went to sing, it was just like, wow, my voice is clear. And so when we were filming the movie, the same thing happened. I felt that voice again, and I started doing the breathing technique all the way as I was, okay, I just got to, you know, I can't do the movie if I don't have a voice. So that technique really, really helped. And I just love the idea that there are so many people in that class, and, you know, from all over, and yet we're all there, you know, just to encourage each other, and the way that, you know, Angel always throws in some encouraging things and some things for us to be aware of. And I just always leave feeling so happy after that class and ready to do whatever I have to do for the rest of the day. So I can't thank you enough, and I'm so glad
I appreciate that.
to be on your show.
Thank you.
Your
Thank you.
dream.
Well, if it wasn't for you, I would have never got in touch with the Brooklyn Cafe. So,
It's all
and
about
being from
networking,
Brooklyn, it was perfect. 'cause
Yes,
I was born in
right.
Brooklyn, you know, and I could just be me on the
Yes,
show.
yes.
Right? Like Freddie, right, Freddie? I could just be me.
Exactly,
Freddie
exactly.
said, "Don't worry about notes. Just come in and do your thing," he said. And so that's what I've done.
That's exactly
So
it.
I just want to give you a quick little rundown of what's going to come in the future, what to expect. So this is the next show is going to be Valentine's Day, and that day is really a day of love for couples. But we're going to talk about being single, okay, which is really like a new movement now of people that are single that are happy. Valentine's Day is a very hard day when you don't have someone and you see couples together, and society always wants you to be with somebody. They want to tell you, how come you're not dating, and why aren't you doing this? And, you know, it's got to change that. If you know somebody's single and they're happy, leave them alone. Just leave them alone.
You mean don't be a yenta, a matchmaker?
Yeah. It's like, I'm okay. I love being who I am. So on that day, on Valentine's Day, I'm going to have Dr. Cassidy, who I worked with for 5 years in the Delray
Yes, where I
Center
was.
there. And he's going to be here talking about being single with me. So remember, our future shows, and I want to end with just one little thing that my grandmother told me a long time ago, and I remember she passed quite a while ago. But my grandmother always taught me a great lesson. If you don't have something nice to say, don't say anything at all. And if all of us could just take that to heart and really think about it, I think it'll change your life and other people's lives.
That's great.
That's what we're here for. So
Yeah.
I'll see you in 2 weeks. Remember, Touched by an Angel live. amp2.tv@gmail.com. You could find my Zumba class. Just email me or call me at 954-224-0886, or you could friend me on Facebook, Angel Kinssies, Kinssies. It's like kisses, but it's with an N, Kinssies. And I do 6 classes a week. I'll send you all the information, and hopefully I'll see you every Monday, Wednesday, Friday doing my classes, and I'll see you in the salon. I work right here in Boca to make you beautiful, too.
Yay!
Thank you. I'll see you in 2 weeks.
This has been Tell Us Your Business, where a special guest comes on every week and tells us what they do. All shows can be seen on amp2.tv, and if you wish to be a guest, call 866-224-5422 and tell us about your business. That's 866-224-5422. This has been an amp2.tv production.
The opinions expressed on the preceding sponsored program were strictly those of its hosts, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors.